On the edge of a forgotten forest, hidden beneath folds of mist and silence, there lies a bridge that no map dares to name. Locals call it Hollow Creek Bridge, though no one remembers why or who first began whispering its name. The bridge. It is old, its wood weathered to a silver gray, and its iron bolts rusted blood. It hums in the wind, a low, trembling groan, as though sighing with something it can't forget. Most days, birds refuse to perch on its rails. Even the river below, once a flowing lifeline, now trickles quietly like it's afraid to draw attention. On moonless nights, passers-by have claimed to hear the splashing of footsteps beneath the water even when the river is bone dry. Some say it's just old wood shifting, or echoes playing tricks in the hollow. But in the town nearby, a sleepy, time-worn place named Willow's End, the stories have never stopped. Stories of children who vanished on dares, of a man who parked his truck at one end of the bridge and was never seen again, though the truck remained, engine running, of a woman in white who walks the edge only to disappear when approached. Still, travelers come. Some out of curiosity, others because they don't believe in stories, but the truth of what waits beneath. Hollow Creek Bridge is not in the stories told, it's in the silence that follows. And tonight, someone new is about to find out. Nora Whitlock had never believed in haunted places. As a structural engineer with a decade of field experience under her belt, she'd walked beneath collapsed tunnels, climbed broken dams, and stood in the shadows of bridges that creaked under the weight of time and decay. She understood materials, physics, erosion. She believed in science, not superstition. So when a handwritten letter arrived at her office in Charleston, asking for an evaluation of an old wooden bridge in Willow's End, she assumed it was just another remote town with a crumbling structure, too small for the county to prioritize. A curious note was scrawled in the margin. It groans at night. It weeps when you stand on it. We need answers. Nora smiled at the melodrama, tucked the letter into her file, and scheduled the visit. The town of Willow's End was nestled between a dense pine forest and a winding, unused railway line. Driving in, Nora noticed how time seemed to slow. The houses were small, with peeling paint and porches sagging like tired shoulders. A general store stood at the center of town, next to a diner that still advertised coffee for 50 cents. At the Willow's End, Nora was greeted by a woman in her late 60s named Evelyn Crane, the innkeeper. And as it turned out, the person who had written the letter. "You're braver than most," Evelyn said with a cautious smile. "Most people tear the letter up or send it back, but you came." "I'm just here to assess the structure," Nora said. "Wood rot, load-bearing issues, maybe water damage." Evelyn nodded, though her eyes held something else, a quiet, knowing fear. "You'll want to be careful at bridge. It isn't just old, it's angry." Nora didn't reply to that. She unpacked, had a quick dinner at the diner, grilled cheese and lukewarm soup, then returned to her room. That night, as she reviewed bridge plans and reports on her laptop, she noticed a recurring detail in each note from local townspeople. The bridge moans only after sunset, always at night, always when someone is close. The next morning, armed with her gear, a hard hat, measuring tools, camera and moisture detector, Nora made her way to Hollow Creek Bridge. The road narrowed into a path framed by ancient trees, wild vines tangled above like a canopy, letting down streaks of filtered sunlight. The air felt thick, quiet, not the peaceful kind, but the kind of silence that seemed to listen. And then, there it was. Hollow Creek Bridge. It stretched only 30 feet across, a slow, dark ribbon of water. The planks were worn smooth in places, splintered in others. Railings sagged outward, twisted by years of wind and rain. A small sign, hand-painted and crooked, read, "Do not cross after dusk." She stepped closer and set her equipment down. Click. She snapped a few photos. Moisture levels high, especially near the supports. Wood quality poor, likely untreated pine. Bridge integrity questionable, but nothing immediately unnatural. Still, something gnawed at her senses, a feeling she couldn't quantify. Not fear exactly, but unease. Like being watched from a window you couldn't see. Nora crouched near the center of the bridge to inspect one of the beams. That's when she heard it, a faint creaking, not from her movement. Something deeper, almost mournful. She stood quickly, looking around. Trees stood still. The water below rippled gently but held no source. She'd jotted it down in her notebook anyway. Bridge emits low groan under no apparent stress. Wind negligible. Source unclear. By late afternoon, she returned to the inn, her mind still working. She uploaded the photos and ran a rough structural analysis. The results confirmed her field notes. Old, dangerous but explainable. But that sound. That night, the dreams came. She saw water, not gentle or clear, but black and writhing. She was on the bridge, kneeling, reaching down, and something reached back. She woke with a jolt, breath ragged, shirt damp with sweat. The clock read 3:12 a.m. outside. She thought she heard the low whine of wood under pressure, as if the bridge was sighing across the forest. The next day, Evelyn met her at breakfast. "You went alone?" the woman asked softly. Nora nodded. "I got what I needed. Just a few more tests tomorrow." Evelyn poured her tea but didn't sit. "Don't go back alone tonight. That's when it listens." Nora tried not to roll her eyes. "You make it sound alive." Evelyn met her gaze. Maybe not alive, but not dead either. Later that day, Nora visited the town archives, hoping for any documented history. She found one, a yellowing article from 1961. 3 boys vanish while crossing bridge. No bodies recovered, just a single shoe found stuck between the planks. In 1988, a family's car was discovered abandoned on the far end of the bridge. The doors were open, baby seat inside, no trace of the occupants. The pattern was chilling. Always the bridge, always silence. That evening, Nora returned once more, this time with a thermal camera and a voice recorder, not because she believed, but because she wanted proof. Evidence, something to disprove the whispers that tugged at the edges of her logic. The sun dipped below the tree line. The bridge exhaled, and something deep beneath it shifted. The bridge moaned again, louder this time. A low drawn-out groan that seemed to echo not just across the trees, but inside Nora's chest. She paused mid-step. The thermal camera in her right hand flickered and blinked, then briefly went black. She smacked aside with her palm, snapped back on. The screen glowed with vibrant gradients, showing the warmth of her own body, but nothing beneath the bridge. No movement in the water. No animal trails, nothing. She set the camera on a tripod and activated the voice recorder. Date, October 3rd, time 7:46 p.m. Temperature, 11 degrees Celsius. Location, Hollow Creek Bridge. Mild structural creaking observed. No visible stressors. Commencing audio and thermal monitoring. The breeze shifted. Leaves rustled in a strange circular pattern, as if the wind didn't pass through the trees but spun in place, wrapping around the bridge. Nora turned slowly. Something had changed. It was the quiet. No insects, no nightbirds, not even the river. Then came a sound, soft, deliberate, like footsteps. Not on the bridge, beneath it. She leaned over the wooden railing, aiming the thermal lens at the water. Still nothing. The water's surface mirrored the sky, but her breath quickened. She could feel it, a pressure, not external but internal, like her mind was pressing against something vast, invisible, and wrong. "Hello," she called out. Her voice sounded small. Something answered. It wasn't a word. It was a breath, a low inhale, rattling through wood and water, vibrating the soles of her boots. She staggered back instinctively. The bridge shifted beneath her weight, just a nudge, but enough to send her heart racing. She backed off the bridge and stood on the dirt path, staring at the planks. The recorder was still rolling. She retrieved it, then turned to go back toward town, but paused. The air smelled different. It had that strange, cold sweetness you only notice near a hospital or a place long abandoned, a scent like damp fabric mixed with something metallic. She sniffed again. Copper, no rust, and something deeper, almost like blood. Back in her room, Nora reviewed the thermal footage. It was grainy but uneventful until frame 892 at precisely 7:52 p.m. A faint shape flickered under the bridge. It was only visible for half a second, barely a shimmer, but it was human-sized, crouched in the shadows of the planks. Heat signature, just the absence of one. She froze the frame and zoomed in. It wasn't clear, but the shape had limbs bent at unnatural angles, as if crawling on all fours, with a head that tilted far too low. The body's outline was slick, too smooth. No face, just a smear of darkness shaped like a person. Waiting, she stared at the screen, her skin crawling. The voice recorder didn't help. She listened closely through the static, groaning with her own footsteps, her breathing, and then the breath, not hers. A separate, drawn-out inhalation. Then 2 words, so soft she almost missed them. "Come closer." Nora dropped the recorder. She didn't sleep that night. The next morning she confronted Evelyn. What exactly happened here? Not rumors, not legends. Real events. Evelyn's face paled. She led Nora to the basement of the inn and pulled out an old metal lockbox. Inside were photos, news clippings, a small rotted wooden toy, a spinning top, and a diary half burned. "My brother," Evelyn whispered. 50 years ago. He crossed the bridge with 2 friends. They never came back. Nora lifted the diary, careful with its crumbling spine. One entry, near the end, was barely legible. "We dared each other to see the thing that lives beneath. They say it copies your voice, makes promises. You feel it inside your head." Charlie said he touched its hand, said it felt like wet paper. "I don't think we were supposed to see it. I keep hearing it in my sleep. It says my name now. Says it knows where I'll be when I close my eyes." Nora sat back. "There were 6 disappearances," Evelyn added, "that we know of. Some say more before records were kept. All connected to the bridge. Why hasn't it been demolished?" Nora asked. "We tried twice. The workers refused to finish. One said the equipment kept breaking down. The last contractor quit after claiming something walked past his tent every night." Nora exhaled sharply. "This isn't normal. Even if I can't explain it scientifically, something is wrong here. Something dangerous." Evelyn nodded solemnly. "It chooses who sees it." That evening, Nora went back. She couldn't stop herself. She needed closure, an explanation. She needed to face whatever was haunting this cursed stretch of wood and water. This time she brought ropes, a headlamp, and a GoPro strapped to her chest. As night fell, she walked slowly onto the bridge. She knelt at the same place where she had seen the movement. The fourth plank from the center dot, she tapped gently. Hollow, she pried it open with a crowbar beneath the plank. In a shallow cavity was a child's shoe, waterlogged and rotting. Her heart skipped. The air around her dropped 10 degrees. Behind her, a voice spoke, soft, familiar. Nora. She turned. No one was there. Her headlamp flickered, then died. She switched on her flashlight. The beam trembled in her grasp. The bridge groaned. Then something rose from the water. At first it looked like the reflection of a person, a shimmering distortion beneath the surface. But then it moved upward, toward her. The water didn't ripple. There was no splash. The shape passed through the planks like mist, rising inch by inch. And it took form. It had her face, her eyes, her voice, but the mouth was wrong, too wide. The limbs jointless, boneless, folding and unfolding like wet paper, just like the boy's diary described. It smiled, then it spoke in her exact voice. "You found me." Nora screamed and stumbled backward. Her flashlight dropped and rolled. In that brief arc of spinning light, she saw hands, many hands crawling just below the bridge's floorboards, pale, thin, reaching between the cracks. Like spiders, she ran. Branches clawed at her jacket as she crashed back down the path, her breath ragged, eyes wide. She didn't stop until she reached the inn. She slammed the door behind her and collapsed to the floor. Evelyn helped her up. "You saw it," she whispered. Nora nodded. She couldn't speak. "Now it'll follow." Nora blinked. "What?" Evelyn's eyes welled with tears. "It doesn't stay on the bridge. Not after you've seen it. That's how it spreads." The wind that night did not howl. It whispered. As Nora sat in the inn's small common room, the walls seemed to inhale and exhale gently, as if the house itself was breathing with her or against her. Every creak of wood, every shift in the floorboards above, made her heart pound slower, deeper, like a drum calling something ancient into motion. She hadn't told Evelyn everything. She couldn't. She hadn't mentioned that. After she ran, she heard in her own voice calling out from the woods behind her, over and over again. "Nora, wait, don't leave me here." Not screamed, not cried, just repeated. Com. Hollow. Now, in the dim light of the inn's kitchen lamp, her phone lay on the table. It buzzed again. Another voicemail. The fifth that night, from her own number. Her trembling hands played it. A pause, then the voice. "Please, I don't know where I am. It's so dark. Come back and bring me home." Her own voice, her exact tone. Same lilt, same breath patterns, except she had never said those words. Not once. Evelyn watched from the doorway, wrapped in a blanket. It copies what it hears. Then it waits until you're alone. Nora stared at the phone. Why, no one knows. Maybe it's a memory or hunger, it doesn't matter. Once it touches your voice, it tries to replace you. The word replace stuck in Nora's mind like a splinter. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A soft patter echoed from the hallway like bare feet on old wood. Slow, measured, coming closer. Nora stood and turned toward the hallway just as her phone rang. Her name flashed on the screen again. Nora Whitlock, incoming call. She didn't answer, but the hallway grew darker, not from the lack of light, but as though the shadows themselves grew heavier. The outline of something began to form at the end of the hall. A figure, her size, her height. And then it spoke. "Stop running. Come back." Nora stepped back. The figure stepped forward. The hallway light flickered once more and went out. She turned and ran to her room, slamming the door and locking it. She pressed her back against the wood and waited. The house stilled. The quiet returned. Then, gently, lovingly, something tapped on the door. 3 slow knocks. Then her voice muffled. "I don't want to be alone anymore." Nora's breath hitched. Her fingers hovered over her bag. She reached for the recorder, still intact from the bridge, and hit play. Loudly, the voice from the bridge hissed back through the speaker. The sigh, the groan, the words, "Come closer." From the hallway, a sharp shriek erupted, not of pain, but of rage. The door rattled violently. Then silence. Nora waited. Minutes passed. Eventually, she peeked through the window and saw nothing but pine trees swaying beneath moonlight. But her reflection did not move. She stared at it, frozen. Heart pounding, it stared back, smiling, and then it blinked, before she did. The next morning, Evelyn found Nora standing on the front porch, her suitcase beside her. "I'm leaving," Nora said. Her voice was calm. Her eyes were still and wide. She looked like herself, but Evelyn felt a sharp, cold pull in her gut. "Are you sure you're you?" Evelyn asked gently. Nora tilted her head and smiled. That same too wide smile she'd seen under the bridge. "I'm just tired, Evelyn. I want to go home." Evelyn didn't stop her. She watched as Nora got into her car and drove away. But deep down, she knew the bridge hadn't let Nora go. It had followed her 2 weeks later. A light rain washed over Charleston. Nora Whit's apartment sat still and silent, perched on the 3rd floor of a modest brick building nestled near the edge of downtown. The place was spotless, always had been. Every book in its place, every surface clean, every photo frame aligned. But now something was different. The silence inside wasn't ordinary, it was watching. The windows stayed closed, though the breeze outside tugged gently at the curtains. A neighbor walking his dog paused at the hallway door, head tilted slightly. He thought he heard someone inside whispering softly, over and over. "Let me in, let me in, let me in." But no one answered when he knocked. Inside the apartment, Nora sat at her kitchen table, her tea untouched. Her laptop was open in front of her, displaying the thermal image she had recorded that night on the bridge. The warped figure beneath the planks stared out at the screen like a silent accusation. She didn't blink, didn't move, until, finally, she spoke. "I know you're still there." Her voice echoed faintly, not just in the room but beneath the sound of the rain. And faintly, from the laptop speaker, the same voice, perfectly mimicked, repeated back, "I know you're still there." She reached up and touched her face slowly, delicately, like she was checking to see if it still belonged to her. The tea steamed beside her hand, untouched, in the hallway mirror just outside her door. Her reflection watched moving. Smiling. Nora never filed her final report. Her office said she returned from Willow's End, but she never returned to work. Neighbors say they still see her sitting by the window at dusk, watching the rain slide down the glass, always still, never waving back. And when they call her name, she smiles, but doesn't speak sometimes. If you stand quietly near her door, you can hear two voices inside. One is Nora's, the other is just like hers, but hollow, slower, like a memory that's forgotten how to breathe. And if you listen long enough, you might hear them whisper, in unison, "Come closer,